Hey, what's up guys? We just finished our 3D print for the CYCLosa 6.0. If you guys are looking for a in-depth breakthrough, personally from me, explaining the different grip logics and the different evolutions, then go check out the end of the last stream. I think it's in the last like 10 minutes of the stream. I give a nice breakdown. It's a very long stream, but in the last 10 or 15 minutes is where that information will be. Right now we're about to get some words of wisdom from ChatGPT. I might pull out some models on stream. I might pause it and talk a little bit to make some clarifications, but we're just vibing out here. Just kind of mulling over these different prototypes and thinking about what the next step is going to be. So bless up everybody, thank you for watching. And let's keep jamming out to some Kevin MacLeod music, yo. Everybody go follow Kevin MacLeod on YouTube. His name is in the description. You can go find him easily. He's almost got 1 million subscribers. Go help him hit 1 million subscribers. That'd be great. He's letting everybody use his music as long as they follow his terms on his website. So, cheers. Hope you guys enjoy the content.
Tonight, what you are looking at is not just a new shell. It is the result of following one line of ergonomic logic through multiple generations until the form finally started making structural sense. CYCLosa did not begin as this face-like horned shape. It began as a modified oloid. That matters because the oloid foundation gave the design something most traditional mice do not have. It gave it an organic rolling and pivoting body language. Even in that early stage, the goal was already different from a normal mouse. The goal was not to drag a block around with the whole hand. The goal was to create something that could be guided with finer control, more like an instrument. A normal mouse is usually palm-driven. You rest the hand on top, drag it across the desk and correct as you go. It works, but it asks the bigger parts of the hand and arm to do a lot of the work. That creates inertia. It creates over-travel. It creates that familiar Tonight, what you're looking at is the result of 1 week of real evolution. Just last week, this started as a modified Ola base block prototype, very raw, very simple. The point was not to make something beautiful yet. The point was to find the control logic first. That is important because good design usually does not begin with styling. It begins with a problem. The problem here was straightforward. Traditional mice are mostly palm-driven. You place the hand on top, drag the shell across the desk, and let the larger parts of the hand and wrist do most of the work. That system functions, but it also creates inertia. It creates extra travel. It creates correction after movement instead of precision during movement. The whole thing tends to feel like pushing an object rather than guiding a tool. So the modified oloid phase was the first attempt to break that pattern. That early form mattered because it gave the prototype a more organic motion language. It did not feel like a desk brick. It felt like something that could be guided, pivoted, and steered. Even in that rough block stage, the design was already moving toward a different philosophy. Less palm-driven shove, more finger-guided control. Less dead shell, more instrument. From there, the next problem revealed itself quickly. The front of the grip had promise, but the rear of the hand was underused. The thumb, index, and middle finger could begin establishing a control zone, but the back half of the grip still needed structure. That is where the handlebar logic came in. The modified oloid with a handlebar was a major step because it started assigning real roles to the middle finger, ring finger, and pinky. Instead of letting those fingers remain passive passengers, the design gave them something to brace against. For everyday people, the easiest way to picture this is the difference between loosely holding an object and locking into a tool that actually works with your hand. That rear support changed the prototype from a shaped object into a grip system. Then the design kept tightening. As the grip logic improved, the silhouette began becoming more directional. The front narrowed, the body gained a more deliberate forward character. That is where the goat or a knoll face aesthetic emerged. And that aesthetic was not random. It came from the mechanics. A more nose-led front creates a clearer aiming direction. It gives the device a stronger sense of forward intent. It makes the whole form feel less like a generic shell and more like something meant to be guided precisely. That brings us to this version. The goat or a knoll face form now includes a horn. But that horn is not just a stylistic flourish, it is a telescopic rear geometry system, and that is where this design makes its biggest leap. Because when the horn extends or retracts, it is not only changing how the device looks, it is changing the physical logic of the tool itself. It changes grip length, which means the device can calibrate for different hand sizes. It changes finger recruitment, which means the user can decide whether the rear support is mainly for the middle finger, the middle and ring, or the middle, ring, and pinky together. It changes leverage, which means the rear of the hand can gain or lose structural authority over the device depending on how much extension is used. And it changes the spacing between the contact points on the surface, which means the device stance itself can be tuned. In plain language, the horn is not just adjusting comfort, it is adjusting control geometry. That is the breakthrough. Most mouse design freezes the shell and forces the user to adapt. CYCLosa starts doing the opposite. It allows the physical body of the device to become part of calibration, not just software settings, not just sensitivity, not just button mapping. The actual shape, leverage, support structure, and surface stance become tunable. And that is why this 1 week matters, because this was not a slow drift through random versions. This was a direct progression from a modified oloid base block into a finished design where the aesthetic and the mechanics are finally beginning to agree with each other. In 1 week, the project moved from raw grip theory to a form that now explains itself. A body that guides more than it drags, a rear structure that recruits more of the hand, a directional front that reads like an instrument, and a telescopic horn that turns grip, leverage, sizing, and stance into one adjustable system. That is not just a better shell, that is the beginning of a new way of thinking about interfacing. And that is where the deeper implications begin. Because once a device stops being a fixed shell and starts becoming an adjustable control structure, you are no longer just designing around comfort, you are designing around authority. Who in the hand has authority? Which part of the device has authority? Which contact points on the surface have authority? How much of the motion is coming from pinch, from brace, from pivot, from glide, from fine correction? That is a very different design question than the one most people are used to hearing in the mouse world. Most people are used to questions like, is it lightweight? Does it have good clicks? What sensor does it use? How many side buttons does it have? Those things matter, of course, but those are not the deepest layer. Those are component questions. CYCLosa is pushing into structure questions. What kind of hand posture creates the most precise micromotion? What kind of rear support reduces unwanted twist? What kind of front geometry makes aiming feel guided instead of dragged? What happens when grip length itself becomes adjustable? What happens when the body of the tool becomes part of calibration? That is why this design matters beyond just this one print, because the horn is doing more than supporting fingers. It is changing the mechanical conversation between the hand and the tool. With the horn retracted, the device becomes more compact, more front-loaded, more immediate. It can behave more like a tight precision instrument with less rear extension and a more condensed support profile. But as the horn extends, the rear of the hand gains a stronger role. The grip gains length. The leverage path changes. The anti-rotation stability changes. The whole device can feel more planted, more anchored, more structurally distributed. For everyday people, think of it like adjusting the handle length on a precision hand tool. A shorter handle may feel quicker and tighter. A longer handle may feel steadier and more supported. Neither is automatically better. They create different control personalities. That is the important part. The device is not trapped in one personality anymore. And that leads to one of the strongest ideas behind CYCLosa. Traditional mouse design usually assumes one shell should define one grip logic. If your hand fits, great. If it does not, you compromise. If you want more support, too bad. If you want less rear interference, also too bad. The shell is frozen. The user adapts. CYCLosa begins reversing that relationship. The user is no longer just adapting to the shell. The shell begins adapting to the user. That is not a small ergonomic upgrade. That is a philosophical change in how interfacing can be designed. Because once you let the shell adapt, you can start thinking in families of use rather than one locked posture. One user might want a tighter retracted configuration for compact desk work and fast micro adjustments. Another might want a longer horn extension for more rear stability, more ring and pinky engagement, and a fuller structural hold. Another might want a middle setting that balances agility and support. The same body can now serve multiple hand sizes, multiple grip preferences, and even multiple task modes. And that means CYCLosa is not just trying to be ergonomic in the generic consumer sense. It is trying to be calibratable. That word matters, because calibration is deeper than comfort. Comfort can be vague. Calibration is structural. Calibration means the relationship between hand, body, and surface can be tuned with intention. You are not just hoping the shape feels good. You are setting the geometry to produce a certain kind of control. That's where this project starts moving from product design into interface theory. Because if the body can be calibrated, then the body becomes part of the interface language. The spacing of the contact points matters. The amount of rear extension matters. Which fingers are recruited matters. How much the device resists twisting matters. How much it encourages pivoting versus gliding matters. That is not superficial. That is the physical grammar of control. And when people ask, why not just use a normal mouse? The answer is not that normal mice are useless. The answer is that normal mice largely came from a paradigm where the shell is static and the software does the customization. CYCLosa is exploring what happens when the shell itself becomes part of the customization. That is a frontier worth exploring, because software settings can only do so much. You can change sensitivity, you can change acceleration, you can remap buttons. But if the hand is still trapped in the same old structure, then the deeper mechanics remain unchanged. CYCLosa is trying to change those mechanics directly. That is why the journey from modified oloid to handlebar to face form to telescopic horn matters. It is not just a sequence of prettier versions, it is a sequence of increasingly specific answers to the same core question. How do you turn a mouse-like object into a true hand-guided instrument? The modified oloid answered with motion language, the handlebar answered with rear support, the face form answered with directional control identity, the telescopic horn answers with adjustable grip geometry and adjustable surface stance. That is a very clean progression, and for those watching tonight, that is the key perspective to keep in mind. This project is not becoming more complex for the sake of novelty, it is becoming more resolved. Each revision is trying to make the hand-tool relationship more explicit, more tunable, and more honest. That is how real design evolves. Not by piling on random features, but by letting each new mechanism solve a specific structural limitation of the last. When that logic continues to hold, then CYCLosa is not simply moving toward a final product. It is moving toward a new category of interface tool, a category built around adjustable control geometry, distributed finger rolls, and a much more deliberate relationship between grip and motion. That is where things start getting truly interesting. And once you start looking at it that way, a lot of assumptions begin to fall apart. One of the oldest assumptions in desktop interfacing is that the device should disappear into familiarity. Make it safe, make it standard, make it close enough to what people already know that they do not have to rethink anything. That approach is understandable, but it also keeps the whole category trapped. It keeps designers polishing the same stone over and over, instead of asking whether the stone should have been a different tool in the first place. CYCLosa breaks that habit by asking a more uncomfortable question. What if the problem was never just button placement, sensor quality, or shell comfort? What if the deeper issue was that the hand was being organized around the wrong control model from the beginning? That is why this design keeps circling back to the same core principle. The hand is not just a clamp. The hand is a coordinated mechanical system. Different fingers have different strengths, different fingers want different jobs. The thumb does not behave like the pinky, the index does not behave like the ring finger. So, when a device treats all of that richness like background noise, a lot of control potential gets thrown away. What CYCLosa is doing is redistributing roles. The front of the device becomes a directional control zone. The pinch relationship becomes a primary anchor. The rear support becomes adjustable instead of frozen. The middle ring and pinky stop being decorative passengers and start becoming structural participants. That phrase matters tonight, structural participants, because it means those fingers are not just along for the ride. They are helping determine the stability, the leverage path, and the behavior of the device under motion. In practical terms, that means the tool can feel different, not just because of software, but because the hand itself is being arranged differently. And that brings us to something everyday users feel immediately, even if they do not use technical language for it. Confidence. Not confidence as an abstract buzzword, mechanical confidence. The sense that a tool is staying with your intention instead of lagging behind it, wobbling under it, or forcing you to constantly clean up after it. A lot of people know that feeling without ever describing it. You move, the cursor overshoots, you correct the correction. The motion is technically functional, but it never feels fully married to the hand. The more this design matures, the more that marriage becomes the real target. Not just speed, not just ergonomics, not just novelty. Marriage between intention and movement. That is why the telescopic horn matters so much. It is not a gimmick bolted onto the rear. It is a way of tuning how much of the hand joins that marriage. A shorter configuration may create a more compact, more immediate control style. A longer configuration may create more rear support, more distributed control, and more resistance to accidental twist. Those are not cosmetic differences, those are different mechanical dialects of the same tool. And that opens the door to something larger than this single form. Because once one part of the geometry becomes adjustable, it becomes harder to justify why the rest of interfacing should remain mentally frozen. You begin asking bigger questions. Could different tasks want different grip lengths? Could drawing, aiming, editing, browsing, or RTS-style control benefit from different rear support profiles? Could the physical arrangement of the device become as normal to adjust as DPI or sensitivity is today? That is where this starts pointing forward, not toward a one-size-fits-all object, but toward a family of calibrated states. That idea is much more modern than the old shell logic, because the reality is people already calibrate everything else. They calibrate chairs, they calibrate monitor height, they calibrate keybinds, they calibrate sensitivity, they calibrate field of view. But somehow, one of the most important objects in the entire chain, the hand tool itself, is often expected to arrive as a fixed answer. CYCLosa pushes against that nonsense. It says the hand tool can be tuned too. It says the physical geometry can become part of the setup. It says control is not just digital, it is embodied. For those of you watching tonight, that is the frame to hold on to as this project keeps evolving. Do not think of these revisions as random experiments or style detours. Think of them as successive attempts to answer the same serious question more cleanly. How do you build a device that behaves less like a generic mouse and more like an extension of guided intent? That is the thread connecting all of it. The modified oloid was the first body that hinted at guided motion. The handlebar introduced deliberate rear hand participation. The face form gave the design a stronger directional identity. And the telescopic horn made the rear geometry adjustable, which means the grip itself can now become part of calibration. That is an enormous shift in design logic for something made to sit on a desk. And the funny thing is, once you see it, it starts feeling obvious. Of course, grip length matters. Of course, finger recruitment matters. Of course, surface stance matters. Of course, a device should not be locked into one frozen relationship with every hand that touches it. But categories stay stale for a long time precisely because obvious things often remain unbuilt until somebody is stubborn enough to keep following the logic. That stubbornness is what brought this design here in 1 week. From base block prototype to a finished form with real identity. From a rough modified oloid to a device that now has a face, a stance, a structural rear logic, and an adjustable mechanical story. From a loose experiment to something that is beginning to argue for a new interface language. And that is why tonight is not just about celebrating a cool shape. It is about recognizing a threshold, the point where the prototype stops asking for permission and starts presenting a case. A case that hand tools for computing do not need to remain trapped in the old palm-driven mold. A case that fine motor guidance can replace a lot of blunt drag-based control. A case that adjustable body geometry belongs in the conversation. A case that the user should be allowed to calibrate not only software, but the physical terms of control itself. That is the road ahead. And if this keeps proving itself through prints, grip tests and refinement, then CYCLosa is not just becoming more polished, it is becoming more inevitable. And inevitability is a strange thing in design. At first, a new form looks unusual simply because it is unfamiliar. People see the silhouette before they see the logic. They notice the face, the horn, the creature-like body, the break from the ordinary desk object. That is natural. Human beings are pattern hunters, and the first pattern they usually catch is visual. But over time, if the structure is honest, the visual strangeness starts fading and the mechanical reason starts coming into focus. That is when a design begins to cross a threshold. Not when everyone agrees with it immediately. Not when it looks safe, not when it blends into the furniture. When people begin realizing that the strange parts are carrying real function. That is the stage CYCLosa is entering. Because the face-like front is not just identity, it creates a directional body. The tapered nose creates a more legible forward control zone. The horn is not just attitude, it is adjustable rear geometry. The overall body is not trying to mimic a normal mouse with a few extra curves. It is trying to reorganize how the hand speaks to the surface. And that phrase matters, how the hand speaks to the surface. Most interface tools are designed as though the hand and the desk are separate worlds, with the shell acting like a dumb translator between them. The hand presses from above, the shell slides below, the sensor reports motion. End of story. CYCLosa begins treating that relationship more like a conversation with structure in it. The hand is not merely resting. The hand is actively distributing control. The desk is not merely friction. The surface becomes part of the stance geometry. The shell is not merely housing. The body becomes a tuned intermediary between grip and glide. That is a richer model of interfacing. And richer models matter because they create room for new behaviors. Once the geometry becomes adjustable, once the rear support can expand or contract, once the finger rolls become more deliberate, you are no longer designing for one frozen posture. You are designing for transition states. That is where this gets very powerful, because real use is not static. People are not robots holding one perfect position forever. They shift, they tense, they relax. They move between tasks. They switch from fast movement to fine targeting. They go from browsing to editing to aiming to dragging to selecting. Traditional devices usually force all of that variety through one body language. CYCLosa begins opening the possibility that one device can support multiple body languages without abandoning its identity. That is a serious step forward. A retracted horn configuration may be better for one mode of use, more compact, more immediate, more front-directed. An extended horn configuration may better serve longer sessions, larger hands, or tasks where distributed support and anti-rotation stability matter more. That means the device can begin to meet the user in different states, rather than demanding the same answer every time. And for the audience tonight, that is worth sitting with for a moment. Because a lot of frustration in computing comes from forcing ourselves to normalize awkwardness. People get used to strain, they get used to compensation, they get used to crude motions cleaned up by repetition, they get used to overshooting, recentering, dragging, correcting, tightening the shoulder, adjusting the wrist, squeezing the shell. Then all of that gets called normal simply because it is common. But common is not the same as correct. And that is one of the deeper motives behind this entire project. Not to reject every old tool just for the fun of it, but to stop pretending that familiarity is the same thing as optimization. Sometimes an old standard survives not because it is the best answer, but because nobody pushed hard enough on the assumptions underneath it. CYCLosa is pushing on those assumptions. It is asking whether control should begin with a palm slab at all. It is asking whether more fingers should participate intentionally. It is asking whether surface stance should remain fixed. It is asking whether grip length should be adjustable. It is asking whether the shell can stop being passive and start being part of calibration. Those are not decorative questions. Those are architectural questions. And once you get into architectural questions, the whole horizon changes. You stop obsessing only over specs and start looking at systems. A sensor matters, yes. A switch matters, yes. A click feel matters, yes. But all of those components sit downstream from the body logic. If the hand is poorly organized, the finest components in the world are still trapped inside a compromised control structure. If the body logic improves, suddenly those components can express themselves more truthfully. That is why form matters so much here. Not because aesthetics are meaningless fluff, and not because aesthetics alone are enough, but because when design is going well, the form becomes the visible fossil of solved problems. Every useful protrusion, taper and support begins to represent an answer to a specific mechanical question. In bad design, features pile up like clutter. In better design, features begin to converge into necessity. That is why this version feels so important. The convergence is becoming visible. The old modified oloid gave the project its first motion language. The handlebar gave the rear hand a structural invitation. The face form gave the body direction and presence. The telescopic horn gave the design adaptability at the rear, which means hand size, finger recruitment, leverage and stance can now evolve together instead of separately. That last point is crucial, together instead of separately. Because one of the oldest failures in interface design is fragmentation. Comfort is solved in one place, motion is solved somewhere else, button placement is solved in another place. Software tries to compensate for what hardware froze. The user ends up doing the final integration with their own body, usually by tolerating compromise. CYCLosa is trying to integrate those layers earlier, inside the tool itself. That is why the project feels less like styling and more like theory embodied. And the more that theory survives real prints and real use, the stronger the case becomes. Not because theory alone wins, theory does not get a free crown. A prototype has to earn its keep. It has to survive contact with the desk, with the hand, with fatigue, with precision demands, with repeated sessions. But when a form survives that contact and still keeps its logic, that is when it becomes dangerous in the best way. That is when it stops being a neat idea and starts becoming a challenge to the whole category. That is the energy building here. Not just a new shell, not just a better looking prototype. A challenge to the assumption that interfacing must remain trapped inside static ergonomics and palm-driven inheritance. And if this continues to hold, then future versions are not just refinements. They are proofs. Proofs that the hand can be given more mechanical dignity. Proofs that grip logic can become adjustable. Proofs that the shell itself can become part of the calibration stack. Proofs that a computing tool can be organized more like an instrument than an office leftover. That's why the story does not end with this shape. This shape is where the story becomes legible. And when a story becomes legible, that is when responsibility increases. Because now the design is no longer just private experimentation. It is beginning to make claims. Claims about what the hand wants. Claims about what the surface relationship should be. Claims about how much of modern interfacing is still built on inherited habits rather than first principles thinking. And once a prototype starts making claims, the next step is not hype. The next step is disciplined testing. That is part of what makes this moment so important. This version is exciting because it feels resolved enough to speak clearly, but still early enough to teach us things. It is not finished in the sense of being beyond change. It is finished in the sense that the core logic is finally visible. That gives every test more value. Every grip adjustment means something now. Every point of strain means something. Every improvement in precision means something. Every awkward reach, every moment of stability, every shift in finger participation becomes usable information instead of random noise. That is how a category gets built honestly, not by pretending the first answer is sacred, by reaching a form strong enough that real testing can begin to sharpen it rather than redefine it from scratch. And that is the difference between a concept sketch and a prototype with a future. A concept sketch can suggest anything. A real prototype has to negotiate with reality. It has to deal with contact, pressure, fatigue, movement, friction, variation in hand size, different desk setups, different use cases, different task rhythms. Reality is where weak ideas start squeaking. Reality is where lazy design gets exposed. But reality is also where strong design starts earning its authority. That is the road ahead for CYCLosa, not just admiration, not just visual identity, evidence. Evidence that the pinch-anchored logic really does reduce palm-driven inertia. Evidence that the directional front really does help establish a more instrument-like control posture. Evidence that the telescopic horn really does create meaningful changes in finger recruitment, leverage, and stance. Evidence that adjustable geometry can become a real advantage in everyday interfacing, not just a clever novelty. And that is the right kind of ambition. Because the goal here is not to be weird for the sake of being weird, it's full of novelty objects that burn bright for 10 minutes and then die in a drawer. The goal here is to build a tool that makes more sense the longer you think about it, and ideally even more sense the longer you use it. That is a much harder standard. And for everyone watching tonight, that is the standard worth caring about. Not whether something looks unconventional at first glance, but whether it reveals deeper order over time. Whether the unusual parts solve real problems, whether the form carries mechanical truth, whether the design is organizing the hand more intelligently than the old default. That is the test. Because real progress in interfacing will probably not come from endlessly polishing the same old body plan. It will come from somebody being willing to rethink where control begins, how fingers are recruited, how the tool balances on the surface, and how much a physical relationship should be adjustable instead of frozen. That is exactly where CYCLosa is heading, toward a model where the shell is no longer passive, toward a model where the hand is no longer underused, toward a model where grip, stance and motion are treated as one connected system, toward a model where interfacing starts feeling less like pushing hardware around and more like directing intention through a calibrated instrument. And if that sounds ambitious, good, it should. Ambition is only embarrassing when it has no structure underneath it. This project has structure, it has progression, it has a visible chain of reasoning from modified oloid to handlebar to directional face form to telescopic horn. That chain is what gives the ambition legitimacy. So tonight is not just a celebration of reaching a finished-looking design in 1 week. It is the recognition that 1 week of focused iteration can uncover a much deeper design language than years of passive acceptance ever will. That is what makes this worth following. Because this is not just a prototype getting prettier, this is a control philosophy becoming harder to ignore. And that is probably the right note to start closing on tonight. Because at a certain point, the value of a project is no longer in how many times you can describe the shape. The value is in whether the shape has earned the right to keep going, whether it has enough logic, enough structure, enough promise under the hand to justify the next stage of refinement. This one does. That is the key takeaway tonight. Not that every question is answered, not that every dimension is final, not that the journey is over, but that the design has crossed an important threshold. It now has enough coherence that future changes can be made in service of the core idea, instead of in search of one. That is a very different place to be than where this started a week ago. A week ago, this was a base block prototype built on modified oloid logic. Now it is a finished form with a directional body, a defined grip story, a structural rear support concept, and a telescopic element that turns hand fit and surface stance into adjustable variables. That is real progress. And it is worth emphasizing that point for everyone watching tonight, because progress in design is not always loud. Sometimes it is not a magical moment where a final product drops from the sky with thunder and glowing runes and all the rest of the glorious nonsense. Sometimes it is quieter than that. Sometimes progress is when separate ideas finally stop fighting each other. That is what happened here. The motion language stopped fighting the silhouette. The silhouette stopped fighting the grip stopped fighting the rear support. The rear support stopped being a dead add-on and became part of the control system. That is convergence. And convergence is one of the strongest signs that a design is worth taking seriously. Because when a form begins to converge, it means the project is no longer being carried only by imagination. It is being carried by internal necessity. One decision leads to the next. One constraint reveals another. One improvement makes a later feature almost unavoidable. The design begins to pull itself forward. That is the feeling this version has. It feels like the first version that is no longer apologizing for itself. It is not asking to be understood as a rough sketch. It is not asking to be excused as a weird experiment. It is presenting a real mechanical argument. That argument is simple, even for everyday people. Your hand deserves more than one frozen shell. Your rear fingers deserve more than dead weight. Your grip should be allowed to influence the tool's structure, and the body of the device should be part of calibration, not just the software behind it. That is the argument. And whether someone arrives at it through engineering language, ergonomic testing, gaming performance, creative work, or just plain curiosity, the point still lands the same. There is more room in interfacing than the old categories have admitted. That is why this project matters. Not because it rejects the past for sport, but because it pushes beyond it with a reason. Not because it looks different, but because it behaves according to a different set of priorities. Not because it is finished forever, but because it has finally become clear enough to guide its own future. And that future is where the real work begins. Now comes the testing. Now comes the printing. Now comes the handling, the sessions, the observations, the refinements. Now comes the part where this design has to keep proving that the logic under it is stronger than habit. That is a worthy challenge, because if the logic continues to hold, then CYCLosa is not just becoming a more polished object, it is becoming evidence. Evidence that the old palm drag model is not the only answer. Evidence that adjustable grip geometry can matter. Evidence that distributed finger rolls can matter. Evidence that the shell itself can become a live part of the control equation, and that is the kind of evidence that can outlast hype. So as we start bringing this to a close tonight, the cleanest way to say it is this. In 1 week, this project moved from a modified oloid base block to a finished form that now carries its own identity, its own mechanical story, and its own design philosophy. That is not the end of the road. That is the point where the road becomes real. And that is exactly where things start getting interesting.
Alright guys, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate everybody who's been following along. Everyone who's just joining in now, thank you everyone. Just gonna kind of explain this like I did at the end of my last stream. If you guys want a more in-depth explanation, you can go to the last stream. But this is
Alright guys, thank you so much.
Sorry about the background. I was jamming out to that music with you guys. Excuse me. Alright, so it was explaining the basic oloid shape, which I've explained several times and at the end of the last stream, but basically, an oloid is this right here too. So you see this is a smoothed out version of an oloid. I smoothed this end out. But an oloid is pretty much like two M&Ms, kind of like smashed together, two Skittles smashed together, you know, one is vertical, one's horizontal, and they use it for water filtration. But this is the shape that I went with for my first prototype. Fell in love with the shape immediately. I mean, it just made so much sense. And this one really highlighted a lot of issues. I mean, like, first of all, I was trying to use my middle finger like this on the side, and I was like, oh, maybe I need to make it bigger or something, you know? I didn't really click yet that I wanted to squeeze my middle finger like that so that it comes up to the same length or similar length as my thumb. So that was the first revelation really from this grip right here and from this device. Then when I realized that it put too much strain on the middle finger and the thumb, and it kind of slipped a little bit when the index finger was working on top. So it exposed some structural flaws. So then after that, you know, I printed out this, kind of like a standard mouse on a joystick, with some side cavities that weren't big enough. But it's got the same kind of pinch logic with the side cavities, and I realized, you know, This is definitely not the go. Definitely don't want a big block. This is definitely not the go, like the traditional mouse shape. So this was just a little test design, but this was our second print after this one. So number 1, modified oloid. Number 2 was testing that compared to a traditional mouse shape. Definitely the oloid one. I mean, this is head over, like, it's way better than this. Like, it is just head over whatever, head over heels, head over shoulders, whatever you say, better than, it's miles better. The oloid is miles better than the traditional mouse shape. So that settled that, like, right away. Boom. And I was like, okay, but this oloid, it doesn't really have the full grip going. So I basically made this big old potato oloid. And we got big old potato oloid here. And now this one, what it really highlighted for me was that the grip was not straight. It was not just a straight line down the spine. No, it needed more of a curve, right? Because if I held it like this, I could make it work by adjusting to it, but it's not natural. If I put my pinky and my ring finger underneath it and squeeze and grip, and then do this, it's like it wants to naturally angle. My index finger is now angled to the side. It's almost like my thumb wants to angle too. So it's kind of like, it's more of an angled grip, you see? It's not really like straight down the spine like that. No, it's not like that. It's more like this. So that just, potato design really gave me a lot of insight, honestly. So that's one. Number 1 was the modified oloid. Number 2 was the traditional mouse design shape. And number 3 was the modified, or the potato oloid. And the potato oloid was the worst out of the 3 so far, but it gave me a lot of insight with the angular adjustment. And when I thought about that and really sat down, thought about it, came to the conclusion of adding a stick to it, a handlebar, a grip, right? So this makes it so it no longer slips. When you're using it like this and you're using your index finger on the top, you're no longer relying so much on just these 2 wobbly side fingers gripping just the side. You now have your handlebar, which is stabilizing. Like, now I could basically use this mouse without even gripping. I don't need my thumb to even use this. Like, yeah, it's not gonna feel right without my thumb, and obviously without gripping it properly, but this just gives it so much more stability. It's like the device actually works now without even the grip. And that's just a huge upgrade from this, which obviously would fall right out of your hand. And oh, this already broke. I super glued it. As you can see, there's a bunch of super glue on the bottom of this, because yeah, it's a very flimsy joystick, so I just need to super glue that back on. It didn't actually break just now, it's just the super glue came apart as well, so I got some glue, I'm about to glue this back on. But anyways, I have a backup model for it, it's fine. Here we go. So like I said, this would just fall right out of your hand if you were to let go of it, obviously. So the handlebar design was huge in stability and making this more viable. And it is so nice. It's like a monkey grip. It's like monkey claw grip. It's like monkey claw grip. It's not even claw grip, it's like monkey grip. It's like, this is so nice. It is so nice. I am in love with this one. I'm just in love with this one. Okay, so after we got the basic oloid, basic modified oloid, traditional mouse, potato oloid, and handlebar oloid, we changed the oloid completely to a sleeker design. Fits to basically replace the finger in the grip. So it's like if I made a fist right here, right? Boom. Right? And I lift my index straight upwards and just place this in that space where the index was, and then clamp the thumb down. It pretty much feels like a mechanical finger is added. It's almost like I have a bionic finger or something to my thumb is what it feels like. Because it pretty much just replaced my index finger. Yeah, so it's got a different shape, obviously. It feels really nice. It actually feels nicer than the side of my index finger. And the index finger lays perfectly on the top. This one was a little small though. Doesn't have the handlebar logic added in yet, but man, with the shape of this one, I'm telling you, I don't even know if it needs it, because this one, it doesn't have the issue that the standard oloid had. Standard oloid had the issue of slipping out, not slipping, but it just kind of feels wobbly when you do this with your index, because you have to go left and right. Well, with this, the way this is designed here to be so slim on the nose, now you're just going up and down with your index. Now the grip isn't really compromised, so you can rely on just your middle finger and thumb to clamp this down now that you're just moving your index up and down the nose instead of side to side, right? So this one right here really doesn't even need the handlebar as much in this size. For this size, this feels like a perfect micro mouse. I mean, I love this one. For what it is, this one seems like a really nice micro mouse. This one, really great stability. I mean, these two definitely could be finished products by themselves. Hands down. This is just more of a skeleton that's lacking aesthetic though. So with the newest model, we added aesthetic to the skeleton. We made it way more aesthetic, and we also added a second contact point so that this bar right here, instead of being straight out, it's curved downwards and touching the surface. So now you have 2 contact points, 3 contact points if you add in the joystick, the spring probe joystick at the bottom, which is retractable. It doesn't always need to be extended, but you can add 2 or 3 contact points. And the bar that is the horn on the side on the new model, it's also going to be telescopic adjustable, so you can change it to a 1-finger grip, 2-finger grip, 3-finger grip on the horn. See, 3 fingers here. Or you can put it all the way in so it curves with the body and just becomes a little bit of a side nub grip rather than your finger wrapping around it. It just kind of it's going to be more flush with the body, so that the finger is just going to kind of rest on more of a lump, a ridge, rather than it being an actual grip. So the horn is going to be completely adjustable, telescopic. Let me go grab the newest one, because it's actually outside curing right now, getting a little sunlight. All right, guys, I'm back. Now this one right here, this one really, I mean, this one takes the cake. So this one, it's not even the aesthetic about it, guys. It's really the width, I guess, is what it is. I don't know. This one's nice. Like I said, it pretty much replaces the finger in the grip. Feels like a fist. Very slim, very sleek, very agile. This seems like it'd be a good traditional mouse. Like if I just wanted a replacement for a traditional mouse, not a gaming mouse necessarily per se, even though it absolutely could be used in that sense, this seems like it'd be more of a traditional mouse for me. But this one right here, I mean, with the 2-point, it really gives it a special kind of stability to it. It feels like there's a point dragging behind my intention point. So these 3 fingers are triangulated here. This grip logic is all pressing into it. My intention is all directed into this forward point right here. Not the nose. Yes, the nose, but really the point that's contacting the surface, which is going to be more right here in the middle. So this point right here, where my intention is going to in the middle, it has almost like a training wheel behind it. It's a second contact point that can be adjusted telescopically to be closer or further, which gives you more stability if it's further out. You know, it can be adjusted for preference, also for grip preference as well. But just what was I even saying? Yes, all the intention is going to that point, but then you have the secondary point in the back is like training wheels. And it feels like it's dragging behind it, almost like you would have, you know, your main wheels and you would have a couple wheels on the side giving it stability. It's exactly how this feels, guys. And I'm working on adding a second horn for the thumb and a third contact point, but I really don't think it's going to be necessary. Really, it's the outside of the hand right here. It's the outside of the grip that feels like it really needs the stability, right? Because you have these three fingers hanging over, right? So if you were just holding this, you have these three fingers hanging over, which isn't the end of the world. It's not horrible. It's not even fatiguing, actually, because putting all the weight of whatever your hand is right here onto the index and into the webbing right here, or not even the webbing, but more like the palm under your index and your index. That's where all the weight is. Now these right here are just stability grips, so they're not going to get tired over time or anything like that, but it gets wobbly, right? So the stability isn't there when it comes to like the wobble or the tilt. It might tilt sideways. So now with this, you can really rest. Like, man, I can put all the weight now. With this one, I can put all the weight into this part of my palm now. So with this one, I was having to put all the weight into my index. All the weight was going right here, which is nice, like I said. I could also put the weight here onto my palm here, kind of offset some of it. So now I have weight here, but mostly, like, when it comes to the weight that's going onto the device, not the weight that's going onto the desk from my under palm, but the weight that's going onto the device is mainly going to be my index finger right here, boom. And then this back here kind of just lays there. But there's not really weight going onto the back end of it, because if I do, it'll tilt sideways, and then the device will tilt so that my fingers here are now in contact with the desk, and it'll be sideways. So this is not optimal. Still really freaking nice though. Like I'm in love with it still. But this one though, guys, this one really like takes the cake, because I can put my whole palm down on it if I want to. So it's not necessarily palm driven, but it's palm rest. So when I drive it, I'm using the space in between my webbing to guide it. And I'm using my index and my thumb and my middle finger pinching it to guide it. But I could also shift my grip to be more of a palm driven. I can shift it to be more of an index driven. I can actually shift my grip on this, and I can just lay my grip down like this on top of it. And it's so nice compared to the traditional mouse, where let me get a different one. Traditional mouse, you know. So this, my palm is no longer touching. Like if I put, I have some Nivea nourishing serum right here, and if I put something in between, you see there's a space in between here. My palm is no longer touching the desk. Now, my arm would be. It would all be, there's no contact here, no contact. Contact starts right here with the arm. No contact. And if I move my arm up, I can make more space. Make more space all the way up to the elbow, so that I can change my contact point with the desk. Contact point is not the palm anymore. So on this device, contact point is pretty much right here, wrist and palm. This hits the desk. This was forced onto the desk. So that I can change my contact point. Alright, I'm just making sure my mic's fine. Okay. Cool. So with this, generally, there's no space. Whole arm is flat. Move the arm up, it all becomes flat. Move it up, it all becomes flat. When I'm using this mouse, it's flat. Everything, even my thumb. I mean, my thumb can be raised up, yeah, sure. Maybe I could make some space there, yeah. But generally, with this side though, on this side, it won't go through. Because it's on the other side now that I lifted this side has to be down on that side. So, this mouse right here, I really think I built something that is better than the traditional mouse in a lot of senses. And I am absolutely in love with this device right here. So when I'm using this and I'm hovering and I'm doing this, guys, there's no drag. There's none of that carpet burn going on underneath my thumb, underneath my wrist. I just have one point right here that is not rubbing. This point right here that's coming in contact with the desk, it's not rubbing. It's not getting that chafing, dude. Like, there's just something about using the traditional mouse, having my hand rub against that mouse pad all day. Like, I just feel exfoliated, I guess is the word. I guess it's pretty exfoliating. But this right here, no contact. Moving the mouse, no contact needed. So not only am I getting like a training wheels, an extra contact point, I'm getting a handlebar for grip, telescopic to change the stability of the point, 2-point reference points, to make them closer or further from each other. But I'm getting the training wheel feeling, getting the dragging feeling of behind the intent point. There's the stability point on the outside of the hand, able to shift my weight, put my whole weight down on it, no chafing on the desk. This is a masterpiece, guys. It's an absolute masterpiece, and I'm in love with it. And I am so excited to take this into an aim trainer. Like, I just don't want to get too excited because I won't be able to sleep tonight. Man, this is just, it's such a beautiful piece. I don't think it needs the other horn also. This gives it just such a clean look on this side, right? Just gives it such a clean look on this side. And then on this side, it looks like a goat. The goat. I just think it's such a beautiful design. I mean, this one is a gift from the gods right here, boys. I don't even know what to say about it. I am just so pleased. Like, this oh man, like once I get this working and actually functional and everything and all put together, this is gonna make my decade, dude. Like, I'm gonna be so happy to hold one of these and use one of these and, you know, have them tested out by some homies. Yeah, this isn't a flat bottom yet. I need to slice it or whatever. That's cool, but the contact points are aligned perfectly. Perfectly. So if I slice it, I'll probably just slice just the base off the horn. Just barely, just to flatten the horn a little bit. So that it doesn't do this. So it doesn't tilt and roll. So it doesn't roll. It needs like a flat foot right here so it doesn't roll. And then I need to flatten this so it doesn't roll right here either, because this is very rolly. Very roly-poly. Very roly-poly. But, you know, prototype design. Haven't locked in the exact, you know, sensor foot dimensions or anything like that. If anything, I figure that would be up to the engineer to do that slicing and to be like, yeah, you know, sensor foot needs to be this flat, you know, and I feel like that would be up to the engineer to do all those fine things. I feel like I would just be fucking around if I was doing all that. But dude, this is such a beautiful, beautiful design. I mean, I have got the ergonomics down, got the stability down, I've got the logic down. It is just like blowing my mind how nice this came out over the past week. Basically, we went from this, you know, I think they're on private because some of the logic is just misleading because there's been updates And you know, if it's popping up in people's algorithm, I don't want them clicking on old videos that have outdated logic, but I've kept up the ones that I think are still relevant. But if you go back like a month ago, this is what it looked like, you know. Because I wasn't really working on the design. I was working on like the logic and the structure and everything for so long, for like probably a month and a half. Probably for like a month and a week. It's working on the logic and everything, you know. I mean, I've been thinking about it for a long time though. Play WoW, multi-boxing, WoW, even doing settings in Apex. I've been thinking a long time about devices, but I don't know if I can attribute any of that time to specifically to this device. Like specifically this device, how it is and everything, in its recognizable form. Yeah, probably about a month and a half I've been working on the logic. And then a week it took me to do the design, and oh my god, like, went from this modified oloid, which is still beautiful for what it is, not gonna lie. It's honestly, for what it is, I think I would still take it over the traditional mouse, boys. Yo, not even gonna lie, bro. Like, I'm not even lying to you. I swear. My first attempt, first print, just a modified oloid shape with a freaking joystick added to the bottom. My first attempt, I swear, I would take this over a basic mouse. Because I don't want to have to use my whole hand, and it's just, I don't like the over the top clicking and all. Like, no, I love this. I love everything about this. And I even eyeballed the size, and it's pretty damn close. But with the handlebar added to it, now we're talking. Like, with the handlebar added to it, absolutely no question. Like, no question. Absolutely no question. I would take this over a standard mouse. Like, I would die for this over a standard mouse with the handlebar added. Now, if you're talking just the base oloid shape, it's kind of arguable because it feels kind of slippery. And, you know, with all of that index finger movement, it's going to kind of move around a lot. And it's actually going to ride forward into your grip as you squeeze the sides. So just this one, it is more questionable whether I would like absolutely die for this one over a traditional one. But dude, with the handlebar, dude, this is to die for. This is a beautiful piece, man. This is a masterpiece. This is like a beautiful piece, man. It really, like, really feels like an instrument more than the standard mouse. Like, this is it right here. That's when I knew I had to start working on the aesthetic, right? Because now that I'm like, oh my gosh, I have the skeleton down. This feels amazing. Like, I was so happy. I wanted to get this one done with the hardware. I'm like, dude, put a sensor in this bad boy. Put it all in this one. This is the shell. It's ready to go. But I thought about it. I'm just like, no. It needs aesthetic. I mean, like, it really does need aesthetic, and it needs an aesthetic that even adds to it, right? And I thought about, like, this is just a skeleton. Just a skeleton. So, as you guys know, as the story goes, we got the aesthetic going on here. Fits perfectly into the hand. Very, very agile, very nice piece. If you want a free-flowing piece without too much extra going on, this is like the most simplified, beautiful, standard mouse piece, you know, that I think that I would be proud of. Is this one right here. Give or take a little bit on the scaling and the sizing, depending on your hand, of course. But yeah, that's it. This one made it so you could ride the front of the nose more because it's bigger, right? So that's the thing, is this one you can actually ride the front more and get more of a front grip, and this is a lot more claw. This is like feels like a lot more claw of a grip. Really ride the front nose, and really it's got like a big gap there in between the index. It's not like the index is smooth and flush, no. It's more like the index is like up like that. And it's more of like a triangulated grip on the front. But with this one, like I said, for my hand anyways, it's too small to do that because it doesn't really reach on the back end. Doesn't really saddle into place very well on the back end, and it's just too small. It's too tiny. So this one is perfect for the standard pinch grip logic. If I just wanted to use this, boom, it's really nice. Now, if I wanted to do extra grips, move up to the front nose, do more of a claw grip and all that, I would want it to be a little bigger. But this one, guys, it absolutely takes the cake. I mean, this one removes the chafing, right? Because this right here, my hand is like all on the mouse pad. Like, it's all on the mouse pad. My whole hand is. So if I have to move my hand, it's gonna drag along the surface. So if I'm trying to do some pro gaming and I'm doing snapping around, looking around all crazy and stuff, but yeah, I can kind of hover. Can hover my fingers up. I guess I could. It's actually doable. It actually is doable, but still, there's that contact there. There's still like some contact there. It feels like there's still some micro like rubbing going on, chafing going on, like right here on my palm anyways. At least with this matte, I don't know if on a mouse pad, let's see. It's not as bad on the mouse pad. Alright, but anyways, there's still like rubbing and contact, which I do not like. So this one right here takes the cake, dude. I mean, no contact. And if anything, you just pull up your sleeve on your desk, and there you go. You put it into your forearm, further onto your forearm, and you can even adjust it and move it. So it's not the same spot on your palm that's coming into contact with the desk all day long. It's not the same spot right here or whatever that gets raw and gets sore from all the movement. It's more like maybe, depending on how much you're doing freaking big movements, this could get raw, maybe, but then you can move it up, move it down, move it all the way down, move, you know, you can literally move it so that this contact point right here changes. See, there's the contact point, and if I move it down, the contact point's there, move it up, now the contact point is like right there. So that's the idea, is that you don't get a raw palm. Like this area, this is why I don't like mouse and keyboard a lot really too. It's because of all the friction and switching between the devices and just all the extra effort and stuff, you know? So this is like a dream come true right here, being able to simplify this or overcomplicate it depending on how you want to look at it, but simplify this and make it just so much more user-friendly and so much more like a tool. Rather than holding a sledge and just taking like a freaking iron sledge or a steel sledge, just banging into the cement or whatever you're hitting, you know, the nail or whatever, you're on the railroad tracks hitting the one of those spikes, railroad spikes, whatever you're hitting with the sledge, instead of just hitting the railroad spike with the sledge like a caveman, is that you actually got a tool grip now. I mean, anyways, for the function of what we're doing, right? So this really does give you that extra stability, and it's not gimmicky. I literally, like, I can feel it. I know the sensor isn't in yet, so I can't like fully validate it 100% with like evidence, so to speak, because it's just, right now it's just a block. It's just a resin block. But once I get this thing wired up, once I get this thing plugged in an aim trainer, this thing's gonna go up. Once I get this in the right hands with the right person using it, they're gonna go off on this thing, bro. Like, I cannot wait. Anyways, this is not gimmicky, guys. I repeat, this is not gimmicky. I would not be wasting you guys' time if this was gimmicky. This whole process, you know, has been trial and error, and I didn't know if this was gonna take me a week or a month. I would have been happy if this took me 6 months to get to this point that we're at right now. I would have been happy if it took me 6 months. It took me a week. So it just comes to show what you can accomplish if you put your mind to it. I mean, especially with all the extra tools and stuff we have out now, like AI and stuff, like really, like, if you guys want any help on my workflow or how I'm doing this, I'm more than willing to hop in Discord with you and show you guys how I put all this together, how I do my 3D modeling or whatever. I have absolutely no 3D modeling experience. I barely even know how to use. I think I use two of the sculpting tools, and I use some of the repair functions, and like that's literally it. So if you guys want to know how I'm pulling all this off, I'm more than willing to, make a video if you guys want me to, or talk to you guys about it. If anyone out there wants to invent something, is inspired to invent something, hit me up. I'll give whatever wisdom, whatever advice I can give. But man, I'm so happy with this. Like I said, it's been a week in this design process, and it's literally mind-blowing how every single thing I printed has added to the process. Every single thing that you're looking at here on this table has been printed this week on stream. Except for maybe the twin one, because I printed a left-handed one and I needed to print a right-handed one too. So I might have printed this bad boy off stream. I don't know. I don't even remember, honestly. But other than that, yeah, all these models here, all these designs have been printed on the stream throughout the past week. They've all been genuine improvements. Genuine starting point right here at the modified oloid. Genuine starting point. Genuine modification moving into, the traditional mouse size, just kind of seeing, is this better? Definitely was. This was genuine right here, going into this potato fucking oloid, which showed me the angular approach, right? This one, because it showed me when I grip it naturally, I want to hold it angular. I want like my index to be pointing this way, not pointing this way, not pointing out like front on the spine. No, it wants to hold it angular, right? So this potato oloid really showed me some amazing things. Like I wanted an angular grip. And then I thought about that. Well, let's just make a skeleton. Let's add a stick. So I made an angular skeleton stick, which wasn't even supposed to be good. It wasn't even supposed to feel good. It was just supposed to be like, oh, haha, let's just see kind of how it feels like. Because I don't have any experience with engineering. I don't have any experience with prototyping or anything. So I'm really just going from my gut, Just added that stick there, man. It just feels fantastic. It feels better than anything I've ever held. This right here feels better than anything I've ever held. No disrespect to any companies out there I've ever owned their products, but I'm telling you, this right here feels better than anything I have ever owned when it comes to mouse products. I don't know if I can claim that it beats the classic controller. Classic controller is just a beautiful design, but when it comes to mouse products, this like absolutely blows it out of the water in every way, shape, and form, dude. This is a superior mouse right here, in my opinion, to anything I've ever seen or held. So I'm very proud about this. Like I said, I was just kind of fucking around, oh, potato oloid is too straight. Caveman brain. Oh, need angular grip. Add stick. Like, bro, it came out so perfect. Like, this could be the finished freaking design. It's so perfect. It's amazing. Like I said, just kind of going from my gut here, just kind of intuition-based designs, and working with all the tools that we have available now in 2026. Wouldn't be able to accomplish this without those tools. But anyways, yeah, so shout out to all the new tools, man, all the new makers of tools and all the people who are coming out with new tool software, stuff making our workflow easier for us creators, for us inventors or entrepreneurs or whatever, Shout out to all them folks. But yeah, man, no, this one right here, dude, this one, like, if this felt better than any mouse I've ever held, right? I was worried because it looks kind of gimmicky. I'm worried as it's printing. But once again, same thing with this. Literally rinse and repeat, guys. It's literally rinse and repeat. So this is feeling gimmicky. So as it's printing, I'm kind of sitting there like, dude, I'm going to look like such a dumbass when this comes out of the printer. And I put this into my fucking hand. Like, I'm like, dude, I probably have to delete this stream because I'm going to look like such a fucking chode, Like literally. But then when I get it into my hand, I'm just like, dude, it's immaculate. It's immaculate, dude. And pretty much I felt the same way about this. You know, I'm gonna feel like such a chode when this comes out, like all of these. But these two are definitely the chode prints, you know? Like, I don't know what the fuck I was thinking. Anyways, I got a lot of knowledge out of them. I realized from this one, no, I don't want a block. Absolutely not. No fucking way that block is gonna work. And with this one, like I said, I realized with the full grip being incorporated, potato grip, that it needs to be angular. It needs to be an angular grip, not a straight grip. This is like almost like a half handlebar grip. So it doesn't need to be straight. So I learned logic from these two. These were definitely like the derp, what the hell prints, the derpy prints, but the information I got from these was priceless. This just showed me, no, definitely not using traditional style. And this showed me I need an angular grip. But yeah, with every single one of the, and same with this, I was like, dude, this is probably not gonna fit well. It literally, like I said, guys, replaces my finger in my fist. That's how perfect it is. Like, it literally replaces my finger in my fist. So just kind of like didn't really know what any of these were gonna feel like until I held them. I designed them or whatever with the logic, so it makes sense that they would work. But really, these over here were like shots in the dark. Absolutely, these I was pretty confident in. I was pretty confident in actually this one. I was confident in this basic oloid shape. I was pretty confident in. Kind of felt like this, you know, just if anything would work, this would. It just made sense as a perfect starting reference point. Saw the shape, the oloid, OLOID, and I was just like, yo, oloid all day. That's the shape for me. To start with, and then from there everything else was just a shot in the dark. two failures, but they weren't failures because we learned from them. So there was two prints that are definitely not like, yeah, in the ballpark of what we want, right? But after those two prints, which were both in a row, by the way, we got all the knowledge we needed. We kind of farmed all the knowledge we needed to move forward with these. And they really speak for themselves, guys. They really do speak for themselves. I mean, I made this thinking, yeah, 2 contact points. Because this one, like I wanted to curl this. I wanted to curl the skeleton, curve it so that this point touched the surface. And so I had 2 contact points with this one. That's what I wanted after this. But then it actually came out naturally and perfect through image inspiration. That I was generating different images and different inspiration, and it came up with the horn designed like this in place of the bar. You know, it's like I didn't really I didn't think about using the horn like that until I saw it as inspiration in an image. So I wouldn't say that I just thought of it out of thin air, but I was thinking, you know, anyways, it all worked out perfectly. So instead of using the curved bar or stick, we're using the horn. And I was originally just thinking that'll be good for weight. That'll be good just so I can put the weight down. I wasn't sure if it was going to help with stability. I mean, like, I knew it was going to help with stability. Like, stability, yes. But I wasn't sure if it was going to help with aim stability, right? I knew it was going to help with, like, device stability, but aim stability, I didn't know if it was going to mess everything up. So just sitting here thinking like 2 contact points, and it wasn't really until I got it into my hand that it was validated, like more than what I thought it was. It's like this idea originally, I was just thinking it was going to be a slight improvement. I mean, this completely changed the game right here, adding the 2nd contact point. It feels so much smoother now with my circular movements, and my whole hand is resting on it in a way where my palm is not chafing on the mat, and there's a space there. And it doesn't feel like a block like the mouse does. It doesn't feel like a block. You would think, right? This is what I was worried about, is that it was gonna feel like this. I was worried it was gonna feel like this, right? Because you're using your whole hand. You are using your whole hand on this grip, on this device. You are using your whole hand. So I was worried it was going to feel like this, like you're just driving a brick over the surface. But guys, I am telling you, there is an elegance to this design right here. There really fucking is. Adding the space, making this a handlebar. You're no longer driving a brick. You are guiding a tool. You are no longer dragging or pushing a brick across a desk. You are guiding a tool. You're guiding two different points with your thumb and your three fingers here. And it just feels so natural. Your index resting on the top. Like, it feels so natural. It feels so nice. It is not anything like this, right? You look at this right here. This is a giant potato brick block oloid that I made. It's nothing like this because you're not using this part of your palm, guys. I'm going to say it right now. I think it is this part of your palm that fucks your aim up. I really fucking do. Because with this mouse right here too, it's once this freaking mouse starts getting up into your actual palm, your aim starts to go to shit. That is why you feel like you're driving a brick across a desk, is because it is in your actual palm. Once you remove your actual palm from the equation, now, yes, of course, there is palm contact on the where the knuckles meet on the under point, like where your fingers meet your palm on the inside of your palm. Like there is contact there, more in like the webbings, right? It's like you're utilizing the webbings. You're not actually using your flat palm down here. You're just using the webbings in between your fingers. The webbings in between your fingers are very, very nice. I love them. And you know, for this grip right here, that's what you're utilizing. It's like the handlebar, right? It's like using the handlebars on a bike. You know, when you ride those handlebars into your palm and you dig those handlebars into your palm and you just feel like you can't even control the bars anymore because you're like riding up on top and it doesn't feel right because it's coming from your forearms now. It's like your whole arm is moving the handlebars instead of your fingers and like your palm. So that's why, like, the moment that the mouse starts incorporating this part of your palm, anything beyond this, right? This right here, anything beyond these, I believe anything down here is going to be bad for your aim. At least from my testing, my experience, maybe there's certain techniques or certain grip forms and people would tell me I'm wrong. Maybe there's preferences and styles and, you know, different hand shapes, different thumbs. I don't know. But for me and my testing, this right here is what makes it feel like you are driving a brick, is that it is in your palm. So this device right here removes that feeling. You are now guiding a tool with two contact points. One of those contact points is more of a training wheel behind the main contact point, acting as a stabilizer / training wheel. And you can adjust the distance between the two contact points by moving the telescopic horn in and out, which will give you either 1 finger, 2 finger, 3 finger grip for the side here, and will or no finger grip if you want to push it in all the way. It will retract so that the curve of the horn will actually wrap around the base of this, so it'll go all the way in, and now this curve will be around here. So now you have kind of an underhook. It's kind of a hook that's underneath the belly that you can grab onto and kind of hook onto underneath. So that's when it's fully retracted in. But I like it like this: 3 finger grip, middle finger, ring, pinky, thumb, index. I am now guiding a tool. It now feels like my hand is one with the device. Sure, this tiny one right here feels like it's replacing my index finger. It just feels so nice. Just for like a little fidget toy or something to handle. It feels perfect size. And even for like a standard mouse use, yeah, this one feels really nice. As long as you're not using your mouse too long or for too crazy of actions like aim training simulators, because then your palm's gonna be dragging across your mouse pad too much. So this is good for just casual use, hopping onto the webpage, playing some YouTube or something. Great little mouse design here. Fantastic little Minnie Mouse design here. No bar, no horn, no nothing. Just a sensor and a couple of clickers. No MMO keys, nothing extra. Just a simple traditional mouse. This is going to be the mini model. Give or take a little bit of scaling, depending on the average hand size and what seems to be appropriate. This will be the standard mouse. If I do make multiple mice to start off with, this will be the standard mouse. This one, my man, this is like the gaming controller / mouse / contact point that will interface with Orbicule, which is another device I'm building. I haven't started the prototyping phase on that one yet. But this right here, guys, is going to change the game if you get one of these in your hand. I promise you. Like, I promise you. You can add triggers onto this horn. Granted that it's not a part of the telescopic and the telescopic doesn't interfere with it. You can add a trigger onto this horn. Can add extra squeeze buttons on the side here. You can squeeze with the points, the fingertips. Tips of your fingertips can squeeze onto the side of the horn and hit buttons. You can have a trigger right here in this little crevice space. This little armpit corner space right here under the horn and the ear. This device right here, this one is going to be the one that really rivals, in my humble opinion, the controller and the mouse. Really do believe this one is going to be the one that rivals both the controller and the mouse. Add a thumbstick to it, underbelly stick, front flashlight pointing. It's just sexy as fuck too. I mean, look at that thing. It is beautiful. Just, I mean, it's amazing how the aesthetic really brought it to life physically, because this skeleton already felt so nice as it was. And I just was not convinced with how nice this skeleton felt. I was just not convinced that that aesthetic was going to make it feel better, or it was going to make it feel more stable, or was going to give any kind of extra benefits. I was like, oh God, it's all downhill from here, right? Like, oh God, we're moving into the aesthetics phase of things. It's all downhill from here, because I just made the best device, the best skeleton that feels so good and so comfortable in the hand that there's no possible way it could feel better than this, especially not by adding aesthetics to it. So I'm like, oh man, it's all downhill from here. And I'm just like, oh man. But dude, it wasn't. It has gone nothing but uphill. After that print, we got this print, which is literally what I would use as a standard mouse. If I was to pick anything off this table as a standard mouse, this would be it for my standard mouse. Period. And that includes, by the way, the traditional mouse, which is also on the table. I'm including that one in the pick. Now, this is not just my prototypes. I'm comparing that to the normal mouse too. So this on the table is what I would use for my standard mouse. Hands down, no question. And that came when the aesthetic, that came when I started working on the aesthetics. Is when I got the first finalized, like, ready shell. And once again, I'm just like, how do I add the bar to this now? How do I add the bar to this? Add the bar to this is going to look ugly as fuck. So I'm sitting here like, now I got a beautiful, perfect standard mouse, but it doesn't have the bar. So how am I going to add the bar, not lose the aesthetic? And my first thought was horn. But then I was like, oh no, that's not going to work, because I'm not an artist. And my first thought was like, oh, it's not going to work because I'm imagining a horn. And I'm like, no, that's not going to look good. That's not going to line up, and it's not going to look good. So my mind just immediately shot that out of the equation. It wasn't until I started looking at images and started looking at inspiration and started generating images with prompts and different style commands and stuff, with my skeleton logic and my STL file of my 3D model added for reference. And it started showing me images, and I'm like, dude, that I'm like, did it just like show me like the perfect horn style for like what I was thinking originally, but just totally threw away. And anyways, so thank the tech lords for these tools, man, because I mean, yeah, really puts things in perspective, and you can really build things with these modern tools, man, that we got access to. And if you guys want to know more about my workflow, I'm more than willing to share, make a video on it or whatever, explain my whole process on exactly how these were all made, step by step. But where I'm at right now is that I am holding something that is undoubtedly superior to the standard mouse. And I don't say that lightly, guys. Like, I mean, I guess there's probably gonna be like people out there who still like the standard mouse because they're just used to it, or because they like it, or because their hands work that way, or whatever. But so I'm not gonna say that everyone on the planet is gonna agree with me, but I am telling you, what I am holding here is superior to a standard mouse in so many ways. So many. I mean, just look at the grip difference, guys. I mean, this looks nice in theory, right? Like this looks nice in theory because it's hugging the palm. Wait, it looks like an extension of the palm. Almost like this, right? How I was talking about how this is like an extension of the fist or whatever. It like replaces the index finger in the fist grip. So you would think, wow, that looks beautiful. But I already explained to you guys, the whole issue of feeling like you're dragging a brick is because of all this palm space right here being in contact. All this extra palm space makes you feel like you're just pushing a brick. That's why gamers have moved forward towards the fingertip grip, but that relies on the palm right here being the main reference point. So they still are anchoring their palm right here to use their fingertips, right? Which I'm sure a lot of people love that. That's cool. I'm not hating or saying anything wrong with it. I'm just saying that this, I feel like, is absolutely superior to claw, traditional, and fingertip grip. This is absolutely like you're utilizing the best parts of your fingertips. You're using your webbing. You're using your palm right here, right? This is like an extension of your fingers, guys. I don't know, like these little pads right here are like an extension of your fingers. Like I said, they work so well with handlebars. Like the moment the handlebars start getting higher up into the palm, you start losing control of it. You're just like, whoa, it feels like my whole forearm is moving it now. It's like there's a space like right here in your palm where it goes from like fingertip feel, right, to like forearm feel. And these mice, they reach into that forearm feel point, which could be good if you're looking for really big arm movements and you're looking for a lot of movement. Then yes, you would want the mouse to extend into the palm to reach those palm muscles or whatever bone, whatever it is. I'm not a hand specialist, but whatever it is right here that changes in grip, you would want it to reach that if you were trying to use your whole arm, shoulder, and elbow. But since we are not trying to use our whole arm, shoulder, and elbow, we're going with more of a fingertip style grip, right? Like you see the fingertip style grip doesn't really use the whole palm, shoulder, and elbow. It just uses the fingertips. Like this, from what I've seen and from what I understand. Unless someone has a modified way of using it, that's the fingertip grip. And now the reason why that works so well, I already explained to you, is because of, I think anyways, I'm not a hand specialist, but I think it's because the way that the palm, the muscles and all this changes here. So we are utilizing the best part of the hand right here with this bar. Boom. Thumb on the side, boom, stability. Feels like it's not moving. You have to peel this from my cold, dead hand, Like, this is not coming out of my hand, but I have a death grip on this thing. It is one with my hand. It is beautiful. It feels like an extension of my body. It is like almost like when you're swinging a hammer or using a screwdriver or whatever. It's like that tool when you're using hardware and you're using tools for mechanical stuff and you're building things and stuff. It's like those tools start feeling like an extension of your hand. So you use that screwdriver all day long, and so your hand becomes a screwdriver, right? Like this right here feels like it carries that legacy. It carries that strength. It carries that logic. Now this one, it does too, but I just think that there's a lot of issues with it for what I need it for, and for what a lot of other people might need it for too. Because it does take too much of the palm, and it does, like, there's just go on all day about, like, I don't even want to repeat. I've already talked enough about the traditional mouse, but this right here, this 2-point contact system, to put the weight down right here, you guys, like the weight is down. I mean, I could put weight down on this until the thing snaps on my hand. Like, if I wanted to push down with my other hand and put all my body weight on this hand, I could snap the horn, because all my weight is down on the device. So whatever weight I need to actuate is down on the device. Now I can move it, and it doesn't feel like I'm driving a whole block. It doesn't feel like one giant contact point, but it's two separate contact points. I'm trying to articulate how it feels. It feels a lot more stable. It feels like a lot more accurate. It feels like I could stop and plant on my target. If I was in an aim simulator and I was shooting at the target boards in the aim simulator, it feels like I could move, stop, plant, and I could really get those fine snaps in, the snappy movements, and I could stop in place. This is not slowing me down, it doesn't feel like. It's just stabilizing. And now it's almost like I am using my whole hand like a screwdriver. Like here's the best way I can explain it, you guys, which I've already said it so many times. But this right here, it's like holding a hammerhead and swinging a hammerhead onto a nail. This feels like you're adding the handle to the hammerhead. Just imagine how much that handle helps you to swing that hammer. And now imagine trying to explain that on a stream. Like if you were the first one to add a handle to a hammerhead, you're trying to explain on stream like how this felt. Like, really, dude, you have to feel it for yourself. Like, I mean, I can only explain it so much. I mean, I feel like I've done a pretty good job so far, but it's not until you hold this in your hand you're really gonna understand what I'm saying. And it speaks for itself, dude. Like this thing right here, it speaks for itself, and I'm telling you, this is superior to the traditional mouse in a lot of ways. And I'm not even tooting my own horn here, because I could have said that about this one. I believe this one right here is also superior to the traditional mouse, but I just wasn't going to go as far as to make that claim, because I knew it wasn't there yet. It wasn't in its final form. I wasn't proud of it, and I knew there was more that needed to be done. But even where this one is at, I feel like I could still make the claim that this is better than a traditional mouse. And I would take this, like I said before, over a traditional mouse any day. Now, it's not until you add the sidebar to it that it really becomes a special piece. But the horn with the curved contact point, dual contact point, this now is something where it's like, okay, I don't even want to touch it anymore. I don't even want to make any more adjustments, because I could add another horn, and I probably will mess around with that over the next couple days. But I am just at a point where I am so happy with this. I want this to be built into a real mouse. I want to see this right here built into a real mouse. This doesn't need an extra horn on this side. It doesn't need... I can put my whole hand onto this. The whole hand stabilizes on it. And like I said, I could put weight on it and still move it. Now, it's not until you add weight that it starts dragging you down. If I added weight onto this hand, then it's going to be really hard to get those snappy movements and stuff, because I'm going to have a lot of drag. But when this feels like it's gliding over the surface and you have those two contact points, and it feels like it's gliding over the surface, and you might even have this third contact point. The third contact point works as a spring retractable joystick, which only works as a joystick when it's in anchored mode. So if it's in mouse belly mode, like we're talking about now, it would just work as a stabilizer, and it would press against the surface a little bit just to stabilize it and stop it from tilting forward. And it would give you a third contact point that you wouldn't feel as much because, like I said, it would be more it would be like spring loaded against the surface. So it would be more of like a counterbalance force to the other 2 points. And I really want to test with that, but I think I need a proper engineer who's familiar with mechanical work to do that. So I wouldn't even know where to start with the spring sizes and all that. But this right here is at a point where I really want this to be built as is. I want someone to feel this device. I want someone to hold this and use this device. I want to hold and use this device. I think that this right here could change someone's life who interfaces with the computer. I know how much these devices like have changed my life when I get like a better mouse, or like when they came out the MMO mouse and they added the buttons on the side. Like, holy shit, dude, my PvP skill went up by like 75% when I got those side buttons on my MMO mouse back in high school. Oh man, yeah, but dude, like, anyways, like I feel like this right here is even better than that. This is up there with that. Like, just like me, in high school, getting that MMO mouse, and being like, holy crap, I'm a better gamer now because this MMO mouse. This is amazing. I really do feel like this is a step beyond that, brothers. This is a step beyond. Like, this is several steps beyond that, in my opinion. And I like I said, I am just so happy with this. I'm so happy that if I think about it too much, I won't be able to sleep. I'm so excited about this, man. I'm about to go listen to some Pointer Sisters. I'm so excited by Pointer Sisters. So, classic jam. Classic jam. That's what I'm about to go jam out to after this stream because I am so excited here, boys. This is really a dream come true, honestly. It's one thing to to be innovative in the software end of things, and to be innovative in software and stuff or whatever in your own kind of creative way, having your own little innovations and stuff, But it is another thing to jump into hardware territory, boys. I am holding this thing in my hand. Like, this is so cool, dude. Like, I cannot wait for this to be an actual device. Anyways, dude, cheers everybody. I hope you guys enjoyed the stream. Just had to get this out of my system. Like I said, I'm so excited. And I just figured I would get it out of my system while I'm live rather than containing it from the world. Because I feel like, this is worth sharing, man. This is a beautiful thing. This is an actual masterpiece right here. And when we actually launch this as a device, I mean, what's crazy is I'm so confident. I am so confident in my calibration knowledge and my settings knowledge and just in my feel, right? Like, you guys are talking to the person who felt, the difference between colorblind mode and, X with shield icon. You guys are talking to the person who felt the difference between, like each menu tab, like gameplay, controller, audio, video on Apex Legends, feeling the difference of how that impacts your aim. And it was real. And like a lot of people, it was so subtle, a lot of people didn't notice it. You guys are talking to somebody, yeah. So like, anyways, I'm so confident in my calibration ability and my ability to feel these devices and to imagine it. I could almost I can almost relate it to, like, you know, not to toot my own horn like I'm anywhere near that level of IQ, but on my own scale, in my own way, on my own level, you know, not comparing myself to anybody, but I feel like I could compare it to, like, you know, Nikola Tesla, or like Einstein, or not Einstein, Edison, where like these inventors were able to actually build the device in their head and put each gear together and each screw and bolt and each mechanism, and they were able to build it in their head. You know, like, I don't know, like, I'm definitely not there. Like, I'm not that insane with it, guys. Like, I'm not no Leonardo da Vinci or nothing. But however, like, I am very confident in my visualization ability to visualize this and what I have right here. And I don't even know if this would need too much research and development. To be honest with you, I feel like I just knocked out the fucking research and development in a week flat, bro. And we are working with ancient technology here, though, boys. I mean, let's admit it. What did this mouse come out in, like, the 1980s? It was like a 50-year-old fucking device. I mean, like, I guess it's not like it's not like, you know, no Leonardo da Vinci shit that we did this in a week, and, you know, but still, I'm pretty fucking happy. I'm pretty proud of myself, not gonna lie. And what I'm holding right here is going to change the game. Like, literally, this is going to change the game, dude. This is it. This is the device right here, boys. This is it. I told myself I wouldn't get too excited, dude. I'm starting to feel like all those butterflies and shit. Nah, man, I need to cool it down, dude. Cause, like, oh man, I'm getting hyped up on this one, dude. This is gonna be a nice mouse controller device. This is, oh man, I'm like, I feel like I could sit here and, like, I'm shadow boxing right now. I'm shadow boxing, right? Like, I'm not actually hitting a punching bag. I'm not actually punching a target. I'm boxing in the air. Like, in my head, I'm hitting those targets. I'm hitting all those fucking shots, dude. I'm getting those one clips, bro. Right now, like, get this thing wired up, boys. Let's get this thing wired up, boys. Dude, anybody wants to hold one of these in their hand, I'll send you the file. You can print your own. I can send you the 3D model file. You can print your own. If you have a 3D printer, you can print your own and fucking feel this, dude. Give me some feedback. Tell me what you think, because, dude, bro, yo, I mean, I'm more of a controller player. I'm not really a keyboard mouse, dude. Like, yeah, I love a lot of games that are restricted to keyboard mouse or whatever, like Counter-Strike Source or the old Steam games and stuff that really didn't really support controller back in the day or whatever. I don't think they did. But so, like, I love keyboard mouse games, but when it comes to the actual devices, man, I've never really been too into them, bro. But, like, now I know why. After really breaking this down and studying this, bro, like, now I know why I've never been a fucking keyboard mouse fan. I've been more of a controller fan. Just, yeah, man, like, but this right here, this is a mouse I could fall in love with. Like, I'm already in love with this thing shadowboxing. It's not even wired up yet, dude. And I literally cannot stop just moving this thing on my desk, dude. Like a toddler playing with, like, a block, you know, building blocks, or, like, you know, like a kid playing with, like, one of those, what are those little toy cars called? What were they called? Those tiny little. It was like a little tech deck sized car, like one of those little mini skateboards, but it was like a car. What did they call those little Matchbox cars? But they had a different name. Hot Wheels. Yeah, you know, I feel like I'm playing with a Hot Wheels. I feel like I'm playing with the Hot Wheels right now, dude. Because this thing, I could literally sit here and do this all day. This is, like, what did I just build, bro? Like, I could look at it all day too. It's just so beautiful. And it's not even in its final form. Or is it? I feel like that horn could use some adjustments. The horn, it needs to be telescopic and everything too, so I don't even know what that horn's going to be looking like at the end of the day. But the actual body, like, yeah, it's definitely going to have this curvature. It's going to be like that. It's going to be 2-point contact surface. It's going to be curved. You know, it's going to have the same logic. But when it comes to the actual aesthetic, though, I just don't know if it's going to look like that. Looking like a gummy worm, you know? The rings on it and everything. One of those old school cartoon worms. But yeah, you know, anyways, yeah, I feel like I'm talking about a Hot Wheels right now. You know, I feel like I'm like a kid on Christmas, and I just opened up the new Hot Wheels because, like, you know, that's the only because I feel so silly, right? Like, I feel so silly just sitting here playing with this block. Like, I'm playing with this prototype, this little 3D printed thing of resin, dude. Like, anyways, I feel so silly, but you know, at the same time, like this, it's just, man. Every time I put it down, I want to pick it back up. I swear, every time I put it down, I want to pick it back up. It moves so slow. It glides so slow. I cannot believe that this thing even exists. Whoa, and when I put it on the actual mouse pad, oh my Lanta. That's smooth. And that's like a cheap quality mouse pad too. I'm getting a nice mouse pad in. I'm about to shout out the mouse brand and everything. I'm getting this mouse pad in. Cannot wait to shout them out. And it's like a new upcoming brand. I think they're really cool. Really believe in what they stand and what they're doing. Absolutely support them. Just got one of their mouse pads made in Japan. Aerotech. It's like aerospace, medical grade technology materials made, like, sourced from Japan that they put into this mouse pad. You know, I need something like that for this bad boy. I need me something like that for this bad boy. It's $45 well invested, because I can't take something like this and put it on no Temu mouse pad. No disrespect, Temu. Temu got me really far. I have a really nice room right now. Redesigned my room so well with Temu. But when it comes to something like this masterpiece should not be touching a Temu mat. This masterpiece is only going to be touching the finest quality mouse pad. Now the desk, I'm cool with the Temu desk. I'm cool. We're all cool with the Temu desk or whatever. But the mouse pad, that's coming in direct contact with this beautiful, beautiful artifact. And that needs to be the finest quality. Anyways, yo, let's listen to some more music by Kevin MacLeod, dude. He's been doing us really well. I think we're like 150 songs into his playlist right now. He's got a playlist with like 430 songs on it. We've been playing that playlist for past like week or so, doing these prototypes, and yeah, man, every track's a banger, dude. I mean, there's some of them that are a little bit too fast paced for my liking, but they're really cool old school gamer tracks. It sounds like some like really good like old school Super Mario, but some of that's so fast paced, is like ding 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 ding. You're just like whoa. But like other than that, like dude, every song's a banger. Every song's a banger, and even those are bangers. They're just kind of like they're obnoxious, like video game soundtracks. Like, dude, he's got such a wide variety of style of music. It's really cool. He's got garden music. You can play it for your plants. He's got, like I said, he's got really cool like video game style music that's kind of more obnoxious, like Galaga. He's got like really good jazz music. I mean, he's got a lot of really good cultural music that seem like they're inspired by different cultures and continents and countries, or whatever you want to say, nationalities. Yeah, man, he's the real deal, dude. And he's letting people use his music. He's almost at 1 million subscribers right now. If you guys want to go follow Kevin MacLeod, his name is in the description along with his website. You guys go support what he does. You can pay $30 for a license to use his work. It's only $30, and you get full licensing of his work. without having to credit him or source him. You just get the license. But if you want to use his work for free without that license, there are some conditions. One of them, I believe, is if it's not the only one, is sourcing and shouting him out and his website. So you guys gotta cite him and shout him out and everything to use his work. But go double check his website. Make sure that I'm correct with that. But it's in the bio. It's in my description, my stream description tonight. So Kevin MacLeod, letting us small content creators use his work, that's amazing. I mean, look at this guy. He's got 1 million subscribers, and he's out here looking out for us small fish, letting us use his work. And there's not that many non-copyright artists out there who are doing that, by the way. For the ones who are doing that, shout out to them. I know there's been a couple of them I've shouted out before too. Like Aimed Ahead is really cool. If you like techno, totally different genre. They strictly do techno, but Aim to Head is cool. I've shouted them out before. But yeah, man, shout out to those artists. Shout out to those tech companies or whatever making these tools that are letting us small creators be able to create. First of all, all these tools coming out, all these AI tools and stuff. Bash them all you want, dude. But us small creators are being able to accomplish and achieve more than ever in the history of content creation. So I'm so grateful, for these companies and for these individuals and people who are, pushing us in the right direction to a more creative, expressive society of people who are able to do things like this, Not like we haven't always been, but, it's just now, like, with AI, it's absolutely unbelievable what we can accomplish and do. So yeah, shout out to people on the front lines of tech and, people letting us use their non-copyright music or, copyright music in this. I think it's copyright, but like they let you use it. I don't know how all that works. But anyways, shout out Kevin MacLeod. Go help him get 1 million subscribers. Bless up, everyone. We're going to jam out to some more Kevin MacLeod music before I end the stream. I hope I'm saying his name right. McLeod. It's MacLeod, right? Was that like Scottish or something? I don't even know. Anyways, go bless him up, give him a subscribe, and thumbs up his work. He's fantastic. We're about 150 songs to his playlist. Expect more of his music throughout the next upcoming broadcasts. We're going to be probably munching through all 430 plus of those songs while we mull through this work. It's really got like a classical kind of vibe to it because, like I said, it's a wide variety of styles and types and genres, really. Some of it's more video game type, like arcade type music. Some of it's more jazz, it's different cultures. But as you're going through it and you're kind of just riding the wave of the playlist, you get like this feeling like you're listening to just classical music. I guess that's just because we listen to such chaotic music as a society now. I'm always listening to hip hop. I'm always out here, bumping something club music or 90s club music or 80s music. It's all so hype that, when you find an artist like this with some more mellow, relaxed music, it's really good for work, and for creative studies and stuff. And streaming, because like I said, he's letting us use his music. So what a fucking giga chat, dude. Bless up to that, man. I suggest anybody who wants to use his music buys his $30 license because, dude, he's got so much work and $30, come on. That was Bumba Crossing by Kevin MacLeod. And now we are going to be listening to Jellyfish in Space by Kevin MacLeod. Alright, you guys, that was Jellyfish in Space by Kevin MacLeod. And now we're going to wrap it up with Exit the Premises by Kevin MacLeod. And I'll see you guys on the next broadcast. Bless up, everyone. Thank you for watching.